Bitcoin was supposed to be cash. It's not cash. It's too expensive to be cash. The velocity of Bitcoin doesn't work as cash. Then it was supposed to be a store of value. The store of values have been running like absolute crazy. Look at gold, look at silver. Those are the store of values at the moment. And Bitcoin is not a store of value. It hasn't been doing that. It's also not a technology. I mean, when I say it's not a technology, it's also not tracking the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. And so what is Bitcoin? I'm going to be honest here. And I know that the maxis are going to hate me for it, but I would say that since the launch of Bitcoin, Casper is the most impressive piece of technology that I've actually seen, to be honest. Their founder, one of their founders is someone who is, I mean, people think that he may have been related to Satoshi. I'm not going to go down any conspiracy theories, but suffice to say, this is one of the smartest guys in blockchain ever. And this is one of the smartest pieces of technology in blockchain ever.
So what is Bitcoin? So this is one of the questions that I've seen most of the Bitcoiners start to ask themselves. And if you went to Kaspa, I think this was the first question that you ask yourself that led you to finding Kaspa. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is not peer-to-peer cash. Bitcoin is also not a store of value. Bitcoin is also not a technology. So what exactly is Bitcoin? Now, if this question starts to get asked to majority of the people, I think most of the people will decide to pivot into Casper. And we're already seeing the signs because most of the Bitcoiners, the long-term Bitcoin investors, are starting to look for other alternatives. The mask is now falling off and people are starting to realize that the original mission of Bitcoin was not to become a store of value. And the store of value narrative is also not holding as most of the people expected. Because if you want to measure if Bitcoin is a store of value, you have to see what Bitcoin does during market uncertainty. In 2025 and in 2026, there's been a lot of uncertainty in the markets. And what did most of these investors decide to do? They decided to allocate most of the capital into precious metals like gold and silver, instead of allocating most of the capital into Bitcoin. And as you can see, Bitcoin's price is now at $65,000 US. Bitcoin's all-time high was at $126,000 US. The mask is finally dropping, and most of the people who were blinded by Bitcoin's price are now starting to realize that they need a better alternative. As you can see, this post from Marshall, who is one of the Bitcoiners, said, "It would be interesting if a new version of Bitcoin suddenly dropped that was actually decentralized and could scale. The timing would be perfect." The reason why this tweet is very interesting is because most of the Bitcoiners still expect that a new version of Bitcoin will suddenly drop. But they forget that to create something similar to Bitcoin that could scale is not an easy thing. That is why you can see Ethereum, XRP, Sui, Solana decided to take another route. They decided to avoid proof of work because they thought proof of work could not scale. And then you have Casper. You have people working on Casper, for example, Jonathan Sopoliski, Michael Satan, and all the important Casper core team members, the researchers, developers, and everybody that is contributing on Casper development, working day in, day out to make sure that this infrastructure is really perfect. So most of the people will ask themselves, like, what's the difference between Bitcoin and Casper? You have Bitcoin's price falling. At the same time, the price of Casper is also falling. But the difference is really, really massive. First of all, the main narrative right now of Bitcoin is a store value. But if you measure the store value narrative to what we are seeing currently in the markets, Bitcoin was supposed to be holding up really strongly because it is a store value, right? It should be performing really well, just like gold and silver. But instead, we are seeing the price of Bitcoin fall just like other cryptocurrencies. The stock market and all other markets are actually performing better than Bitcoin. And then you have Bitcoiners saying that Bitcoin is the actual store value. When you compare these two charts, you have the gold market cap versus the Bitcoin market cap chart, you can see what is the actual store value. Gold is actually performing better as a store value than Bitcoin. And this is not me being anti-Bitcoin or anti-crypto. I'm just stating the facts here. You cannot say that you are store value, but when there's market uncertainty, you just dump like everybody else. If Bitcoin is supposed to be a store value, then it should be measured or assessed depending on the current market conditions. Now, you look at the Bitcoin's white paper. The heading alone states that Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Now, the reason why most of the Bitcoiners right now are starting to open their eyes, and that is why you are seeing questions like this. What is Bitcoin? Cash? No. Store value? No. A technology? No. So what is Bitcoin? Right? What is Bitcoin? This is one of the questions that if most of the people, as I said, ask themselves the same question, you're going to see a massive pivot into assets like Casper. Now, I think these are the early signs, these are the early warnings that most of the people should not be ignoring. At some point in time, majority of the people are going to wake up once the blinders are gone, once people start to realize what Bitcoin actually is, what it was meant to be, and once they learn about Casper and find out what actually Casper is and what actually Casper is trying to solve, I think most of the people will have no option but to pivot into Casper. And for the people that are judging Casper depending on the price performance right now, you have to understand that you are judging Casper prematurely. You have to realize that Casper is not functioning at its full potential. It's even still under development. What you are seeing right now is a tiny ability of Casper. And once everything falls into place, that is when you're going to see the true potential of Casper. We have Vitalik right now trying to copy and paste again Casper's ideas. He used Jonathan Sopoliski's ideas back in 2013, and right now, because of the failing Ethereum ecosystem, he's now trying to figure out how to solve Ethereum problems using Casper's ideas. And this should actually tell you something, that Casper is headed in the right direction. Now, just to remind most of the people, in case you forgot, the same person that is asking this question, what is Bitcoin, Crypto Banter, who is asking himself, like, what is Bitcoin? This person once covered Casper, and after covering Casper, he never talked about Casper again.
Simple. Proof of work. Proof of work, exactly. Bitcoin was built using the proof of work consensus algorithm, right? So in order to earn the mining rewards, miners had to solve a very complicated mathematical problem, and when they did and they proved that they did the work, they got rewarded and the block was mined, right? So the next narrative is actually proof of work. And for a long time, the reason why proof of work was actually out of favor is because it was slow and it was expensive and you needed very, very, very complicated mining equipment. Well, now proof of work is not slow and it's not limited in what you can do. And the reason why that is because of a couple of very, very, very big developments. So the first big development is Casper. What is Casper? Casper is a proof of work token, but has a new kind of technology called a block tag, which means that, I'll make it very, very simple for you. Instead of blocks being mined in a straight line, so one block, then another block, then another block, then another block, what it does is it mines them in a DAG, which is a directed acyclic graph, which means that there's a lot of blocks. Let me see if they've got any like visuals here of how that, here we go. You can see a great visual here of how this works. So this is a block DAG visualizer, but you see the blocks aren't linear in a straight line. There's multiple blocks. And so with this, you can get much faster transactions, which means that if Bitcoin is the gold, and gold is something that you're supposed to keep in your bottom drawer or in your teeth or wherever you keep your gold. I don't know where you keep your gold, but you're not supposed to trade it a lot. You're supposed to have it as a store of value. Casper, which actually means silver, by the way, Casper is supposed to be money. It's proof of work money because it's very, very, very fast transactions. And I'm going to be honest here, and I know that the maxis are going to hate me for it, but I would say that since the launch of Bitcoin, Casper is the most impressive piece of technology that I've actually seen, to be honest. Their founder, one of their founders is someone who is, I mean, people think that he may have been related to Satoshi. I'm not going to go down any conspiracy theories, but suffice to say, this is one of the smartest guys in blockchain ever, and this is one of the smartest pieces of technology in blockchain ever.
Now, I think instead of trying to find out what Bitcoin actually is, it would be better if he went back into his notes and start revising about Casper. These are the early signs of massive adoption when it comes to Casper. Once most of the people ask themselves the same question, most of the people will tell you that they are into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is decentralized, Bitcoin is secure, Bitcoin is a store of value. But the main reason that most of the people are invested in Bitcoin, the main reason people put their money into Bitcoin is because Bitcoin has proven to be consistently able to go up in price. And once Bitcoin's price doesn't perform like most of the people expect, these are the questions that you're going to be getting most of the time. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is not cash. It's not peer-to-peer electronic cash. Casper is peer-to-peer electronic cash. Bitcoin is not also a store of value. As we can see, during market uncertainty, all the capital is flowing into gold and silver. Instead of acting as a store of value, Bitcoin is dumping, currently at 65,000 US dollars. And by the time I post this video, I don't know even if this level is still going to be holding. And at the same time, we are seeing most of the Bitcoiners starting to post stuff like this. It would be interesting if a new version of Bitcoin suddenly dropped that was actually decentralized and could scale. The timing would be perfect. You have VProx, you have Dark Knight, you have the Casper core team really working hard to deliver on the roadmap. Just pay attention to Casper. And this is to encourage most of the people that feel down, especially due to the price performance of Casper. I think good things are coming. There's no need to panic. When you look at most of the people asking themselves these questions, at the same time, you have Ethereum's founder Vitalik looking into what is happening with Casper and trying to steal ideas again. I think you have to realize that you are into the right ecosystem. Casper is the future. Casper is creating something that has never been done before. People decided to escape this proof of work way, but in the end, Casper has proven to most of the people that you can be proof of work, you can be secure, you can be decentralized, and you can scale at the same time, more than the proof of stake protocols. This is it for today. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like. Make sure to subscribe. It's the easiest way to spread the word about Casper. It's also the easiest way to support this channel. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next episode.